Okay, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining this session. My name is Neil Rowlands. I'm a Power Platform architect at the Intellectual Property Office in Newport. So I came to this event last year as a visitor and I observed that most of the sessions are highly technical. There weren't all that many sessions that focus on soft skills. So I've been delivering training on Power Platform and Power BI in my last few roles, so I thought it would be really interesting to do a session on that. Got a few slides. We'll make the session interactive as well. If anybody wants a copy of the slides, I've got business cards here. You're welcome to connect with me after the event on LinkedIn and I'll send you a PDF. What we're going to do today, so we're going to look at all of our teams, our organisations have got data. We want to do something with that. If we learn to become trainers ourselves, then we can help upskill our teams using their own data and business requirements. So I'll share some advice and things that I've learned that have been helpful for me and give you a sample 2-day training program for Power BI. So when we're delivering training, we've got 3 main formats. One is in-person. In-person is obviously the best. We can make eye contact with people. We can see their responses and we can build something that's very bespoke for them. Remote works as well. There are some challenges. We need to decide if we're going to have cameras on or cameras off, and we need to be a little bit more interactive to get people to respond. Hybrid training doesn't really work because we're focusing both on the room and then on a computer to try to get people involved. Okay, so let's go around the room, get to know each other. If you've delivered training in your organisation before, pop your hands up. Fantastic, quite a few. Okay, if you haven't delivered training before but you're interested in doing so, pop your hand up. Okay, a nice balance. So hopefully both groups will get something from today. So what are the benefits of internal training? So they've got 3 different groups of people that could be a benefit. So for us as trainers, or want to be trainers, does anybody have any benefits from your own experience of delivering internal training? Sorry? Exactly right, it's cheaper, yes. So cheaper for the organisation. What about for us as individuals? What are the benefits for us in becoming trainers? Okay, I'm so sorry. I think because there's so much background noise, I couldn't really hear that. So I think maybe people in the front can probably contribute. So for us as trainers, becoming a trainer is a very valuable skill. So a lot of people are very good technically, but if we're able to communicate with others, share our experience, then we get to see data and our job from the perspective of other people who are newer to it. We get better at understanding complexity because we've got to convert that complexity into simplicity for people to understand. For the teams that we train, so if we're delivering training within our organisation, then we can use that team's data and we can use their business requirements. Okay? So this means there's a shallower learning curve. All that those people need to do is then learn the tool, and that's what we're to do there. That's what we're there for as a trainer. By comparison, if we bring in external consultants, they may be using their own generic sample data, so then there's a steeper learning curve for our students because they got to know that data and those business requirements and the tool. For our organisation, as we said, it's much cheaper. It's also great for us because we then get to network, we get to know far more people, and if we can be in that organisation for a long period of time, that will then bring lots of benefits in terms of collaboration. Taking a step back, when we look at the advances in AI is going to be anything that we do technically that can be repeated, can be automated, could be at risk of AI. But soft skills, leadership, making decisions, collaboration, getting people in a room together, delivering training, all those soft skills are not at risk of AI. So over the past year I've been really focusing on myself and my career on developing and using those soft skills. So what questions might we want to ask? Someone comes to us and says, we've got a team of people that need to learn Power BI. What things might we want to ask of them? So will we be training one team, or will we be training people from multiple teams? How many learners? What are their data sources? For example, SharePoint list or an SQL server, database environment. As a trainer, do I need to be given permission to access those data sources? Do they have any reporting in place already? So are we going to be replicating that? Are we going to be training people to maintain it themselves? What experience do they have of Power BI already? And what training room can we use? So preparing for our training. So we can select 2 different small reporting projects. So things that we can deliver one in one day and the other in a second day. Then we need to create the desired report ourselves. In order to guide people to an outcome, we have to have been there before. And that is brilliant for broadening our experience of Power BI. So we may be using Power BI with 2 or 3 different data sources, and then we have to train people on a different data source. So we then have to get familiar with that data connector and working from that data. 3 components that I have for delivering Power BI training. First of all is connect to data and work with it in Power Query. So being like a data analyst. So when we look at YouTube videos and blogs, they often focus on Power BI desktop. They don't always focus on Power Query. This is where most of the work in Power BI comes from. If we can optimize our data, it makes it much easier to then generate visuals on. So if we miss that part out and go straight into Power BI desktop, then we miss out on gaining a lot of value. Then we can lay the report out in desktop, and then we publish the online service and show people how to manage workspaces. Training principles. So training should be hands-on experiential. So we can contrast this with, if you think of a sort of 1990s Excel trainer, someone who's guiding people to put a value in a cell and a formula in the next cell. When we're training to adults, they want to be engaged, they want to participate, they want to share their views and their experiences. So we have to create an environment that works for that. So we're going to do collaborative, bespoke learning. So we know the tool, they know their data, they know their requirements, and together we can then go on a journey. It's important to create a welcoming environment. So when people come in, then we greet them, we say hello, we ask them a question. If people have questions, we do our best to answer it. We encourage our learners to share their views and their experiences. So that instead of it being us delivering to them, then they are participating. We can ask questions as we go to get people thinking. So within the training industry, they use the term a training question. So we're not asking something that's going to be like a prior knowledge check. Did they know this before they attended the training? A training question includes a hint or a guidance so people can think and observe and use their own observations and experience to help get to the answer. So an example of this could be, we're doing some work in Power Query and we're just showing them the UI, and we could say, in the top left, which button do we think would save and exit back to Power BI desktop? They'll then look in the top left and then they see close and apply. So developing training questions does take skill and experience. And as we start to think of different training questions, we'll try them out. Some will work, some won't. But there's a real art to developing training questions, but that will allow our users to become much more engaged and be part of the learning journey with us. So when I'm delivering training, I've got a slide deck, probably takes about 5 or 10 minutes, and that's the only PowerPoint that I'd use. So what would we have in that initial time? So a front page showing who we are, what the name of the training is. When people go to a room they haven't been to before, the first thing they want to know is, am I in the right place? So we reassure them with our screen showing what's happening. We'd introduce ourselves, share our experience of both the tool, technology, and delivering training, so people gain a little bit of confidence in us. Then we're going to define the training objectives. So why are we here? What are they going to get from this? So some of our delegates, they may have chosen to come, some of them may have been sent by their line manager or been obliged to go. So it's important they understand why they're giving up their time for this. And then we'll talk about just the training approach. There'll be hands-on, giving people encouragement to ask questions and ask them to minimise distractions and mute their devices. We'll then give out a schedule, so when are the breaks, when are the lunches, and then I'll share some other resources, so MS Learn, internal SharePoint guidance, if there's anything in your organisation that already exists to help people learn and practice their skills, community of practice, that kind of thing. And then after that, I demonstrate that actually we are going to be interactive and hands-on, and then go around the room and just ask people to introduce themselves, why they're here, what they want to gain, and that then gives us an opportunity to get to know them and ensure that we can then tweak our training as we need to meet their requirements. Overview of day one. So day one, so we welcome our learners, and in the morning spend time on Power Query, just getting people familiar with that, all the things that we would normally do as a data analyst. Remove columns, merge with other data sources, set our data types, rename columns, all the things we need to do to optimize the data. In the afternoon, we then work with it in desktop to publish, and then publish to a workspace. So just the fundamentals. So by the end of day one, they can connect to one data source, work with it, lay something out, and publish it. And that's a really valuable outcome. So by contrast, if somebody were to try to self-learn to do all that, it's probably going to take them more than 6 or 7 hours on YouTube and blogs to get that same outcome. So on day two, connect to data, but here we'd probably choose a different data source. So the day one might have been a SharePoint list, day two maybe an SQL server or a Dataverse environment. And then we're going to, in the morning, work with it in Power Query, and then also in desktop and publish to a workspace. So similar to day one, but compressed, that'll go a little bit quicker, and we can ask people for guidance as well. So on the day one, we are showing people what to do, educating them, and on day two, we're asking them what they may do next. So they're then recalling and practicing more from what we did on day one. In the afternoon, I would then spend time going through some of the more bespoke things in Power BI Desktop. I'll give some examples in a moment. And then do some workspace management, so our learners can then be confident about managing workspaces. And then at the end, just like we did a welcome at the start, ask people to go around the room. At the end, we then do something similar, ask people to share something that they've learned, something they can take away, and that would then conclude the day quite well. So apart from the key things that we would show in Power BI and Power BI Desktop, what other things might we do in the afternoon? Just some examples. So these then very much depend on what your learners have fed back to you about what they've been doing in the first 2 days. And on each course we deliver, then this will probably vary. Some of these we might be looking at the table view, data view and relationships, inserting text boxes and images, difference between slicers and filters, inserting buttons and page navigators, themes, performance analyzer, locking filter cards, syncing slicers, and hiding header icons on tables. So tips and tricks, a few things that I've learned along the way. So before the training, a couple of days before, I'd set up a Teams chat. Add all the people in there, introduce myself, and then remind the learners of the date, time and location. The reason for that, if we're doing something in person, there's always going to be some person, one potential learner who then doesn't come in person because they thought it was going to be online. So let's remove that issue. At the end of the introduction, I'll then use this Teams chat to share the schedule, agenda and other resources in there. So they then got immediately some things to take away. If the learners have got 2 screens, so we might be fortunate enough to have a proper IT training room where users might have 2 monitors, or 1 monitor and their personal laptop or Surface device. We could then share our screen on that Teams call, so people who are a little bit further away from the screen, from the front of the room screen, they can then look at what you're doing on their own screen right in front of them and then work on their other monitor. If we don't know the learners, what we can do before we start is then just make on pen and paper just a little map of the room with all the desks are. As people do their introductions, we just write down their names, and then by the end of day one we'll have learnt all their names. Feedback as well. So when we start our journey as a trainer, some things will go well, and some things, there'll be some opportunities for us to learn and grow on, but we'll only know what those opportunities are if we ask our people. So we can create a very simple anonymous Microsoft form. It's like, okay, we could ask them to rate the training overall 1 to 5, rate the trainer 1 to 5, ask them what they gained the most from it and what the trainer could do to improve. And then once we delivered a number of courses, we'll get some very useful feedback, and we can also then use that as evidence for our managers and our senior stakeholders to justify the training has value. Some ideas for making the training experiential. So learners who work with data they're familiar with, to solve use case and motivate them, will make rapid progress. They're not having to be motivated by using Microsoft Contoso shoe sales in Arizona. They're using something that's really relevant for them. Power BI Desktop, configuring a visual, once we show them how to do it, is quite straightforward. So once we've shown people how to add a few visuals on and how to configure those, then we can just allow them to have a little bit of fun. So I'd give people 30 minutes, lay out some visuals, and try to make this the ugliest report that they can. And at the end of those 30 minutes, then we all walk around the room and share it. And I've learned so much from Power BI just from watching people do that. That also gives us a little bit of time for us as a trainer to have a break, do any course admin, any other things we need to catch up on while they're all busy. Part of training is helping people to learn to make decisions themselves. So instead of them being reliant on the trainer, they're then choosing the most appropriate things that are relevant for their data and their business objectives. So we can create bar, column and area charts, create one, Control-C, Control-V, change it, ask them to compare and contrast, similar with pie, donuts and tree maps. We can add filters and slicers, and then help them understand the difference by comparing them. So workspace management, it's really important from an organisation point of view that when our users are publishing to workspaces that they manage those appropriately and they're not going to add people as admins they shouldn't be. The simplest way to do this, probably takes about an hour, is create a workspace in advance, and then in the session, so towards the end of the day too, we then add in each user and then change their roles so they can actually observe what they can and can't do. So when they're viewer, then they observe that they don't have the semantic model in there. They can't publish into the workspace. But when they're contributor, they can add a member, but they can't remove anybody. Only admins can remove people. So the best way to learn about the complexity of the 4 role types in the online workspace is to get people to do that themselves. So changing our approach to becoming a trainer. So yeah, if we start to get really interested in training, then we realise that it's a skill in itself. But a few things I've had to learn to adjust this from being an individual contributor to being a trainer. So arriving at the delivery room 30 minutes before. Some people will arrive on time, some people will be early, so it's always good to be there to meet people. So yeah, greet the people as they walk in with a smile, introduction and a question. So we're building a connection already. So during the breaks, some people aren't going to want to talk to us. We might have something to do or a Teams call to go on, but really when we're a trainer, we're there for the other people. We're not there for ourselves. And as part of that, we just got to accept, although we've put in a 15-minute coffee break, we're not going to have a full 15 minutes to ourselves. There will be times in our life as a trainer when things go wrong in the room. Something like this, we've got fantastic technicians who can solve anything for us. But when we're delivering training in a room, a monitor won't work, or there'll be some kind of issue with Wi-Fi, so we're going to have to help people to do that. And that's all part of creating a welcoming environment for people. So we may not want to do that, but that kind of goes with it. Similarly, if we get a training room and there is some rubbish on the desks from a previous day, yes, it's helpful for others just to clear that up, really. Great, and that's the end of the slides, the end of the presentation. So it did intend to last a little bit longer, hoping to have a little bit of interactivity, but the place is so large that that's a little bit difficult. So just going back to the start, if anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, then very happy to send you the slides. And we've got a little bit of time. If anyone wants to come up and ask questions up here, then you're very welcome to.